Hello and welcome to the Highly Reliable Systems Overview webinar. I know your time is valuable, so I want to jump right in and talk about challenges with backup hardware and how we solve those problems. First of all, we know that there's a lot of devices that you can back up to. The old school tape, you can see how we feel about down in the lower right hand corner. It's kind of our marketing website that we like to joke about, but it has some reality to it. We want to back up to hard drives, and specifically removable hard drives. So if we look at the spectrum of hardware that's out there, you have network attached storage devices that you can back up to, and certainly that's an option, but a lot of times those are consumer grade hardware. They're not designed 24/7 use. The processors can be a little bit weak, and so they can be slow down your backup, and they typically don't provide a way to back up the NAS. In other words, back up the backup and get it off site, because they were designed primarily for storage. They also, in many cases, because they're consumer devices, don't support the ability to cross-ship drives or devices if there's hardware issues. Now, you always have the option to back up to USB drives, and many people do that in small businesses, and it's certainly low cost, but it can be difficult to integrate. There can be problem with drive swaps where you swap out a drive and it doesn't come back online, or a drive letter doesn't come online, and boy, it doesn't take very many of those per month to fail your backup and to be very aggravating to support. You also typically don't get great support from software vendors like Backup Exec or server grade hardware vendors who don't like or don't even provide USB ports or USB 3 ports anyway. So that can be a problem in terms of fast backup for USB devices. And the last category I'll talk about that is an alternative is backup and disaster recovery boxes, or what's called BDR boxes. But the problem with those is they're relatively high cost. They've been financed by venture capitalists for the most part. They're looking to tie you into their proprietary data centers where they have high monthly storage fees. And many times the boxes are very powerful and have the ability to spin up a virtual machine to test the restore. And actually that's a good thing. We want that capability, and we have that in our product line that's called the BNAS. But not everybody needs that, especially small business clients don't need or don't want to pay for that virtualization capability. So our solution is to provide a variety of backup appliances that are very broad spectrum and let you choose what your solution is. In the upper right hand corner, we show our brand new Windows-based NAS that has 2 mirroring hard drives and a set of SSD boot drive in the front there that you can slide out, so that if there's a problem with the NAS, you can easily pop in a new boot drive and boom, you're back up and running. And in terms of hardware failure on the removable drives, which you're seeing those 2 blue devices up above, are what we call high rely classic trays, and those contain 3.5-inch hard drives that are very standard SATA drives. We're also software agnostic. We really don't care if you use StorageCraft, if you use Aperture, if you use Acronis. We're going to support all those. And because we use the concept of mirroring in many of our models, it also ends up supporting software that normally wouldn't work well with removable drives. So for example, a copy of Backup Exec that might freak out if you changed a drive under normal conditions, you don't have to worry about, because if you imagine that upper device where maybe the top drive stays in at all times and that bottom drive is swapped out on a nightly basis, since the top drive never goes offline, there is no problem with changing out volumes, and yet you've produced a point-in-time snapshot on separate physical media by implementing that mirroring solution. And we handle all the remirroring in hardware. We remirror anywhere between 200 to as much as 500 gigabytes an hour. So typically when you change a drive, you can find that by the next morning your data is completely remirrored to another physical drive. We also support direct attached storage. This bottom device that you see here, this Slimline, is a DAS device. It's not NAS. You can plug it in either USB 3 or eSATA, both of which are very, very high speed. That device is used for very low-end customers that want to stay in the $200 to $500 price point, and yet it can also be used for your technicians if you guys are using network attached storage elsewhere and you want to slide drives back and forth or use them quickly to restore. That Slimline is inexpensive enough to look at that. So obviously I've been talking about dealers and reselling to customers. Whether you're an end user or a dealer, we feel that dealer delivery is the key to success because the dealers understand our products. They're able to put those out there. And for that reason, you're not going to see high-rely products out on the internet discounted. They're already cost-effective, and so they're great solutions for end users, and yet our resellers can put those in and offer the best possible solution. A lot of people think when they see us that removable media is old school, that they don't want to touch drives, they don't want to touch drive trays, they don't want to have the customer be responsible for swapping media. You don't have to with our devices, but the point is you can, and that becomes important when you're trying to seed a remote backup. So we have 3 types of removable media. The first I've already talked about is the HiRely Classic. You can put up to a 4 terabyte drive in that aluminum tray. It's a standard SATA drive, so you can use Seagate or Western Digital. It really doesn't matter. We're not trying to tie you into a particular drive type, but we do sell the media with drives in it so that we can warranty everything, including the tray, the connector, the receiver that it goes in, and the device. We also have available Impact media. This is our Gen 2 that's just being released. We can put up to 2.5-inch hard drives or even SSD drives in these little trays. From the scale of this slide, you don't see that the Impact media is physically smaller than the high-rely media, but it is, of course, and those are laptop hard drives that are more robust. And by the way, there's a mirroring board in there so that you can either span those drives or mirror them integrated into the drive tray. The last of our removable media types is called a RAID pack. A RAID pack installs into what we call a RAID frame, and these things, if you use them in RAID 0 mode, can be up to 12 terabytes, or more typically in RAID 5 mode, they're 8 terabytes. So what you have inside this RAID pack is 3.5-inch hard drives and a RAID controller. So unlike a typical RAID array where if there's a drive failure you're pulling one drive, in this case you normally are pulling the entire RAID array, so the controller travels with the RAID pack. And that means that this thing can be plugged in USB 3 and powered up as a standalone drive, sort of the world's largest USB 3 portable media, if you will. So going back here to the HiRely Classic media, I want to show a couple different options. In the upper right hand corner we have what we call the BNAS, which is a Windows-based network attached storage. We typically use this as a roll your own BDR platform with removable drives. You don't have to remove the drives again, but those 2 drives on the left mirror one another, so you have redundancy up to 4 terabytes there. And then that third bay over on the right is really used as a restore bay. So the idea being if you have a year-old backup and you want to bring that in, you don't want to confuse that restore media or that archive media with the mirror set that's going on currently. So we have automatic mirroring that Windows isn't even aware of that we do to make sure that whatever backup software you're using has 2 copies. And we do that same sort of thing in the lower right hand corner with the 4 drive, where this is a Linux based appliance, has the mirroring, very flexible mirroring on this box. In fact, you can do what's called delayed mirroring on this box, where let's say on Friday night you wanted to automatically sync up a set of mirrors, and as soon as they were synced, automatically drop them back offline again. That's really cool because if the customer doesn't want to swap media or forgets to swap media, you actually can create a point in time snapshot without physically touching this thing. So if now you get virused or a customer or an end user accidentally deletes a bunch of data on the backup device or deletes it on the primary device and a backup occurs, let's say on Tuesday night and occurs on Wednesday night, and then on Thursday you finally discover that there's something gone wrong, you actually do have an automatic set that dropped offline when you did the delayed mirroring. We also have a feature called Speed Seed that I'll talk a bit about on the next slide, and Bring Your Own Cloud, which is also depicted on the next slide. So we have the ability to replicate between our Linux NAS appliances, and that replication is block level, it's incremental, it's compressed, it's encrypted, it's bandwidth managed, so that if you want to make sure that at 10 a.m. your customer's internet is not on its knees because the backup devices are replicating to one another, you can schedule that. And not only can you do one job to your location or to a second office at the customer site, but you could actually set up multiple replication jobs between these devices. In this case, if you wanted to actually host your client's backup, you can send customer A to drive slot 1, customer B to drive slot 2, customer C to drive slot 3. So this 8-bay NAS device, and again you'll see that it boots off SSD here, is a great option for you to actually finally gain control of your customer's backup. You're going to be in the same city, but yet replicating it offsite automatically. And you can very soon in early 2014 get the version that is what we call bring your own cloud, where you can send that same job to Amazon S3 or to Dropbox, and then later on we're going to have Microsoft Azure and some others. So now all of a sudden you're not tied into that proprietary data center, and you can either minimize your cloud fees or take those cloud fees directly to the reseller, where you have complete control and security over your customers' data. I mentioned earlier the RAID frame. This is a depiction of the network attached storage device that we call the RAID frame. And again, each one of those removable modules, and you'll see the one on the left is partially slid out, is a full RAID array with a controller transported with the 3 drives. And you can get this in either a Windows or a Linux version. There's pros and cons to both. Obviously, some software prefers Windows. The Linux lets you do iSCSI and can be faster and has more mirroring flexibility and has the replication functionality that you have to rely on the software to do in Windows. Its same RAID frame is available in direct attached storage, by the way. So if you want to plug in a 5-bay device, we are able to use that middle bay as a 5th bay into an existing server. You can buy the RAID frame that way. Well, I want to end this because I promised a short interaction, and as a call to action, either sign up as a reseller, or if you're end user, please call us and let us refer you to one of our resellers. You can also hit our marketing website, tapesucks.com, and there's a reseller information and application on that page. Email us at sales@hireli.com, or give us a call at the number here, 775-329-5139. I really thank you for listening, and I look forward to serving your backup needs in the near future.